So as I call your name, if you can confirm if you do have a name on the screen, if that name is correct. If not, if you could tell me what your name is. Also, how you're connected to the project, if at all, or if you're a neighboring property owner, or like that. Today. So I'm going to start with David Frankel.
Hi, Corporate Director, Kids Thrive. We're looking to purchase property that we're talking about.
Gotcha. Kids Thrive. Remind me, is that the organization that to run a school within the property? Is that right?
We're the organization that's looking to purchase the property.
Okay, the purchase the property. Got it. All right, welcome. And then I have someone under MPA. Gentleman in the chair there. Plaques on the wall behind him. You can hear me, sir. We'll wait on that unless anyone knows that person's name. Turning Point Ministries, maybe? Yeah, sir, we'll need you to unmute.
Okay.
Okay, could you give me your full name, please?
Eddie Walker. I'm the pastor of Turning Point Ministries.
Right, welcome, Mr. Walker. All right, I have a Pauletta.
Yes.
What's your last name?
Lavender.
You say Lavender?
Yes.
Okay, is that spelled like the
Like the
spelled?
like the color.
Okay, great. And what brings you here today?
I live right across from Turning Point.
Okay, great, welcome.
Thank you.
I see that we have Matt Lashide with us today from the City Zoning Department. Welcome.
Hey, David. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
And finally, Rob Zimmerman.
Yes, attorney for the applicant.
Now, when you say applicant, do you mean Mr. Frankel?
Mr. Frankel, Kids Thrive.
Is that alrighty? On the applicant owner side, is there? Are you expecting anyone else to join us here today? Are you waiting for anyone else to join us? Or
just me and Mr. Frankel. Thank you.
Okay, great. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started then. I need to read through our hearing script. This will basically just cover the procedure for the hearing, and then we'll get into it. So this is the April 10th, 2024 session of the zoning hearing examiner docket. Again, my name is David Sturkey. I'll be presiding over the hearing today. Case before us is case number ZH20240027. That's 7243 Eastlawn Drive. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and potential opposing parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the zoning hearing examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any other party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. So for our purposes here today, I'll allow, that'll be Mr. Zimmerman and Mr. Franklin. And you all can orient that presentation however you would like. One of you can speak, both of you can speak. Mr. Zimmerman, as an attorney, if you want, you can sort of do a direct examination with Mr. Frankel, where you sort of ask him questions throughout the presentation. It's really completely up to you. After you all are finished with your presentation, I'll then turn it over to the public. I'll Ms. Lavender and Mr. Walker to provide any testimony that they would like for me to consider. If the applicant is represented by an attorney, which they are here, the applicant's attorney may cross-examine or ask questions of any person who testifies at this hearing. In the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to this application, the applicant will have an opportunity to rebut that testimony and or argument that was offered in opposition. I'll hear from the zoning department and the zoning plan examiner in this particular application, Matt Lashide. Let's see. After the applicant has been given an opportunity to rebut any testimony offered in opposition, the applicant will have an opportunity to make any closing statements. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt in the spirit to ask questions or make comments. In the event of any technical difficulties with the Zoom technology, I'll do my best to troubleshoot those issues on the fly. But to the extent there is some defect that prevents us from being able to control this hearing, I may continue to postpone the hearing. Okay, the last thing we need to do here is swear in all of our witnesses. So if you intend on providing any testimony here today, making any comments, asking any questions, really doing anything other than just strictly observing, and you are not an attorney, the zoning code requires that I swear you in. And so if that's you, if you could take yourself off of mute now. I'll need all of those people to raise their right hand and to answer out loud. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you shall provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but truth?
Yes.
I do.
Mr. Walker, was that, I didn't catch that.
I said affirm.
Okay, great, thank you. Mr. Frankel, are you going to be providing any testimony here today?
I think Rob's gonna take care of it for me, but
David,
Okay,
go ahead and get sworn in.
okay, yes,
So, Mr. Frankel, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall
Yes.
provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
yes.
Okay, thanks, guys. Just clear that up. Ms. Lavender, did you have a question before we got started here?
No, I was just saying I did
Oh.
too.
Got it. All right. Thanks, everyone. All right, I think we're ready to begin. So, Mr. Zimmerman, I'm gonna turn it over to you if you're ready to proceed. Floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Sturkey and everybody. My intention going forward today is to refer to the application, which we're going to treat as the evidence that is already before the hearing examiner. I'm not intending to do a formal examination of Mr. Frankel. Rather, per the conversation he and I had in advance of this hearing, I'm going to present the evidence and the application, which is the evidence. And if Mr. Frankel has anything he wants to add at the end, he can certainly do that. Mr. Sturkey, of course, if you have any questions, please interrupt me. That's perfectly fine with me. So the first thing I want to say to everybody, but particularly Mr. Lascheid, is thank you. We have been working with the city on this for a number of months now, and the city has been extremely helpful in terms of explaining to us the process, making sure that we are filling out the proper applications in the proper form, disclosing the proper information. And it's frankly been a pleasure to work with the city of Cincinnati. And as someone who has a lot of experience, frankly, on sort of both sides of things when it comes to zoning and land use, it's been a pleasure. I wanted to say that. I wanted to say hello to the pastor and also to the neighbor. I really appreciate you being here today and participating. And what I want to say is the reason why we're here today in this application for a conditional use is to kind of put things back where they were in terms of zoning. So it's a little bit of an unusual circumstance, but that's what it is. So my understanding is for a number of years, there was a school that operated out of the portion of the church that is the subject of today's hearing. That is no longer there. And then another occupant took tenancy in that particular part of the church, and they ran a daycare out of that facility. And that was not permitted either as a right or as a conditional use. So what ended up happening is through the application and hearing process, a use variance was granted. So that tenancy ended and the daycare moved out, and Kids Thrive proposes to move in and essentially put the space back to where it was, at least from a zoning standpoint, and that would be in the form of a school. And what I want to do is just describe a little bit about what type of school this is. This is for younger students, and it is for those that, because of some, and I want to be a little careful here, respectfully, behavioral, emotional issues are just, they're not quite ready to be in the traditional school environments. So this is really trying to fill a need, a gap in education, particularly for early education that we think is very underserved and very necessary. So, we're a licensed certified program. We would come in with a substantial amount of support in terms of teaching and administrative staff, a lot of structure, a lot of role playing and different types of therapies throughout the school day. And it's in the application. I know I'm kind of speaking generally here, but the idea here is that the children that
To be clear, it's we're talking about pre-K group, grade 4. Is that
yeah,
right?
that's right. And that's what I meant by younger. And again, this is just it's filling a gap, is I think it's the way to explain it. And through the program, the proven program that Kids Thrive has, we're very hopeful that those that are in the program will learn, they'll grow, and hopefully be in a situation where they can matriculate when the time is right into a more traditional classroom setting. And we're excited about that. And we appreciate that the city seems to understand that gap that we're trying to fill here, particularly as it relates to Ms. Lavender, but also the pastor, but certainly Ms. Lavender as a neighbor. You should hopefully not perceive any kind of change or negativity at all. It's going to operate during normal business hours. There's ample parking. I mean, really, no change to the footprint is being made. There shouldn't be an issue of noise or rowdiness or anything like that. And actually, we're kind of hopeful that you might like having us as a neighbor and appreciate as we do the good service that we're planning on providing there. So that's what we're doing. In a way, it's sort of like pressing the reset button from a zoning perspective, putting the property back to where it was as a conditional use. The staff report, I think, speaks to it in a lot of detail. I don't think I need to repeat what's already been there. We do appreciate the positive recommendation, and we just want to be good corporate citizens. We want to be good neighbors, and we want to contribute to Cincinnati and the surrounding neighborhood in a positive way. With that, David, if you wanted to add anything to that, I know you wanted me to be the spokesman, but you're here. So if I missed anything or anything you want to add, feel free to unmute.
You did good. I'm nothing to add.
Okay. Okay. Well, we'll see. And certainly happy to answer any questions.
Sure. Yeah, just a couple initially here. You said that it'll be during regular business hours. It's still in the application materials. That's 8:20 a.m. to 3:30 p.m.
Yep.
Staff working from 8 to 4.
Yeah, that's about right. That's what we put in the application. Correct.
All right. So there won't be any after-school activities or evening activities related to the school.
Not specifically planned, because this is the key here. I mean, if there's any key takeaway, it's structure. We're really trying to provide a lot of structure as well as predictability, and that's why those hours are they're pretty firm.
Okay. And I know we said pre-K to grade 4, but do you have an estimated enrollment and what a max capacity enrollment would be?
It's about 125 students would be a max out.
Is it, did I read this correctly, 65 staff members?
Yeah, that would be fully staffed up, correct?
Is that so 65 is the goal, or?
David, on that one, I'll have to ask you to speak.
That's at max capacity.
Okay, so there may be fewer.
Correct.
Right. Do you have a ratio that you try to comply with, or that you need to comply with in terms of student? So if you get to 125 students, is there a chance that there will be 10 staff members?
Not in the therapeutic model. It's usually about one staff member for every 2 students. Unless,
all the,
unless there's more half-day clients, which that would require less staffing. But our current model is not.
I think that's all the initial questions I have right now. I may have more later, but unless there's anything else.
No, those were
Mr.
good
Zimmerman?
questions. Thank you for
Sure.
allowing us to clarify.
Okay, I think we move on to the public now and just based on the orientation of the screen, let's start with Mr. Walker. Mr. Walker, is there anything you'd like to add to this conversation?
Yes, I want to put some perspective to it and why I support this purchase, and especially for Miss Paulette. I've been here since 2011. I've inherited a charter school and a second one, and they were over 248 students. I have had numerous of people who wanted to use the school for charter schools, but I felt like it wasn't the best fit for the church nor for the community. And so there was a first preschool daycare, and this is how it got out of the unconventional use because it wasn't associated with the church. And so we had to come to zoning in order to allow them to have a preschool daycare that began 6 a.m. in the morning until 11 p.m. at night. And because of the daycare piece, we had to get special authorization, and that's how it came out of the unconventional use in the first place. Since that time, that daycare closed, and the church decided to open up its own daycare, which we did have open up until the time that David and I talked about purchase. And so if the purchase had not occurred, the daycare from the same age group that Kids Thrive is requesting would still be open. So there's not a age different than what the church already had in place. The only difference is that we're having a program that is needed and affecting a certain group of kids. I have a niece, for example, that is slight autism, and she's 6 years old, which I see fits right in to this program that David Frankel is requesting. And I don't, and by having two preschools and allowing it go back to that use, I think it has more effect on the community than this program would ever have. I see nothing but positive and upside to allowing Kids Thrive to use the facility through purchase.
Thank you very much, Mr. Walker. Appreciate your time and testimony today. Ms. Lavender, if you wanted to unmute, I'll give you the time to.
There you go. Okay, yes, and Pastor Walker, thank you for clarifying that for me.
Yes.
Because my husband and I have been in this community for over 30 years. We've been in our house and we own our home. And so when we first moved here, this community was different. And so we've seen our community go downhill, to be honest with you. And so we raised our girls, and now we have grandchildren. And so we feel that our responsibility as homeowners and being part of this community is to make sure that our community stays safe. However, when we heard about the zoning, nobody explained what it was, and we didn't understand the whole purpose of it. So that is why I am attending this meeting, because nobody explained it. I just got a card in the mail saying the zoning was being changed and not knowing why or what the circumstances are, what the school is about, what kind of children are we serving? Because as the church that I go to, I have worked with a lot of young people and have helped a lot of young people in the past. So my question to you all is, tell me what type of young people will be serving at this school.
Again, I think I addressed this in my comments, and by the way, Mr. Frankel, assuming we're able to make this all work, I'm going to ask you or someone on staff to knock on Ms. Lavender's door and say hello and invite her over when we're up, and I mean that, so she gets to know it and feels comfortable with what's going on. Well, the first thing I would say, again, these are quite young. These kids, I mean, we're talking, pre-K through the fourth grade. So, 3 years old, 10 years old, something like that. So, and again, these are just, they're kids that just need a little more support. And thank you, Pastor, for mentioning. I actually have a daughter with autism. She's older, so this program sort of speaks to me on a personal and family level. And the idea is, not every child, develops at the same pace. Not every child, can sit quietly in a classroom or classroom setting. The idea here is, okay, these are kids, at least right now at their age, their tender age, they need a little more support. That's why you have this very low staffing model, almost like 2-to-1, as Mr. Frankel said. And the idea is that they're getting a lot of personal support, a lot of prompting. As I understand the program, there's a lot of role playing that goes on to sort of mimic what happens in a typical environment, and also some life skills that come along with that. So what we're hopeful is, these young people, they come in with needing more support, and when they're done, they're ready to matriculate in a more typical classroom setting. But, if you're concerned about, noise or misbehavior, again, I would, say these are pretty young kids, and with a lot of staff and a lot of support. So it should hopefully work out just fine.
Well,
And-
that's
and-
the part that actually, when I heard about the staff to student ratio, I am really happy about hearing that and see what type of support that these children will be getting and stuff like that. So that's actually what we really need. So in that aspect, when I talk to my husband and stuff, I'll explain that stuff to him. And I think we should be fine with that. But I'm just saying, in the future, when people think about doing things like this, you need to talk to the people that are living in the community and really explain it well.
I think that's
So
that's a really good suggestion. And, again, David, as hopefully things get up and running, we'll do some outreach, I'm sure.
Yes.
Mr. Walker, did you have something you want to jump in there?
Well, yeah, I just wanted that Ms. Paulette, if she wanted to talk with one of the trustees here that's a member of the church. She's just retired as the assistant superintendent of the Princeton School District. And she's very familiar with the Kids Thrive program because they sent kids from the Princeton School District over to the other school in Cheviot, which is so far. So this brings about a part of the community that maybe don't want to send their kids quite that distance. So it's really a benefit, really, for the community. And so I want to open up the door too for you to, whether you want to talk to me or either to Mary Phillips, who is that superintendent, or even I'm I talked to Miss Cora. I don't know if you know Miss Cora. Miss Paula, do you know Miss Cora?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, those are some of the neighbors that I've been interacting with since 2010. And so they're very familiar with what we do. And there's a lot of people who wanted to purchase the property, so I've been very selective on turning people down. All kind of folk. And I feel real comfortable with it. I don't know you personally, but I thought you might know them. They could helping to ease some of your comfort about, I feel very good about the school.
I'm feeling better about it as well. I'm glad that I came to this meeting and you all explained what was going on and how things are going to be handled and stuff like that. So I appreciate your candor.
Appreciate your time and your testimony. So glad we-
I would just
Wanna-
offer Ms. Lav- I'll just offer Ms. Lavender, if you want to come check out our current center on the west side, you're more than welcome to come there and give you a tour of the place.
So before I turn it over to Mr. Lashai, I wanted to ask one more question. It was, I think noise was brought up during that conversation. Whether they common complaint the city receives, it's adjacent to these types of uses. Have there been any steps to mitigate those impacts on neighboring property owners? It looks like there's seven.
I gotta be honest, you're kind of breaking up there a little bit.
Can you hear me any better now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to ask about adverse sonic impacts, sound. So that's a common complaint when school uses are directly adjacent to several residential properties. And so have there been any efforts to mitigate those, or is there anything about the operation of the school?
I think I can speak to
Potential
that.
impacts?
Yeah.
Did you get all of that?
Yeah, I think there's a little, I got most of it, sonic impacts, but I do think you're referring to noise. We're very, and Dave, if I'm missing anything, let me know, but we're very sensitive to it, obviously. And, there'll be, opportunities for the kids to get outside when it's appropriate. But that's where, we like to think it's been recognized there's adequate buffering, but also that's where the heavy staffing model comes in. So, we're going to be very sensitive to the noise levels, particularly because it being, adjacent to a residential area. And, we're going to do everything we can with heavy staffing to make sure, we keep it to an appropriate noise level. And I just want to speak, on behalf of Kids Thrive. If there are any issues in that regard, please let us know. We knew that this could be a question, and we're prepared to deal with it before it ever becomes an issue. But if it does become an issue, despite our best efforts, let us know, and we'll make sure that we do everything we can to accommodate.
One thing I'd like to add is that our current center is attached to a bank. It's attached to West Banco. And we haven't had any issues with our neighbors. And a bank is typically a quiet place, and we haven't had any issues with the noise.
Okay. I think I'll turn it over to Mr. Lashai.
Yeah, thank you. So the property is zoned single family SF4. So school is a conditional use in that district. Conditional uses mean that there are times they may be appropriate and times they may not, and we have to carefully review to make sure there wouldn't be any negative impacts like noise, like Mr. Sturkey said. Sometimes a school will have a football stadium or a really big playground, and it might be next to somebody's house, and that would be concerning. So we would, ask that it either be located away from someone's home or they put up fencing and landscaping to kind of buffer that. I don't really see any concern like that with this application. This approval is necessary. It was a school for a long time. I want to say from like I'm not even gonna, a long time. A daycare.
1941.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so from 1941 until about
You're right.
2018, it functioned as a school. In 2018, we had a use variance for a daycare center, so the use of the school, which had been existing, was abandoned. So now they need to go through conditional use process like it's a new school, even though anyone that would walk or drive past it would look at it and think it looks like the same school it's always been. let's see. Yeah, I mean, they seem to be compliant with all the other requirements. We've reviewed the parking, they meet that. There's no signage that's reviewed. It's really just restoring the use of a school building as a school again. And staff is happy to recommend approval.
Thanks, man. All right, anything from the applicants, in closing or otherwise before we adjourn? Or anything in response to that?
I don't think so. I mean, again, I'm just kind of going back to what I said at the beginning. We just really appreciate this opportunity and how this whole process, this very professional process has gone through. I'm really glad there was some neighborhood participation. So, you know, Ms. Lavender, props to you. Thank you for coming on, and of course, Pastor. And we're excited about this.
Great. Let's leave it at that then. I've had a chance to review the application materials in the staff report. Based on that and based on the testimony that I've heard here today, I do think that it would be impractical to strictly enforce the zoning code to this application. And so I'm going to approve.
Can you speak up a little bit? Yeah,
No, I like where he's going with us.
I didn't quite hear. Okay, good. I didn't hear what he said.
Is that better at all?
That's
much
better.
Okay,
Much better.
sorry about that, folks.
Yes.
I'm working in some new headphones here, so I
Right.
apologize.
Keep working.
I'll start over. I've reviewed the application materials, the staff report. Based on that and based on the testimony that I've heard here today in this hearing, I think it would be impractical to strictly enforce the zoning code for this application. So I'm going to approve the requested relief. I need to formalize that approval in a written decision. I mentioned at the beginning that typically takes about 2 weeks. As soon as I finish that written decision, I put it into a PDF and I email it to everybody who's in the hearing here today, including Mr. Lashide. So once Mr. Lashide and all of you receive that email, Mr. Lashide can approve the zoning permit on his end, and then hopefully you all can move forward and take the next steps.
Mr.
Any
Trickey,
questions about that process or anything
thank you
else?
very much for that. The one request, and you know, never bite the hand
I
that's
can't
feeding
hear
you.
you. I'm really sorry.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Okay. If there is any possible chance to expedite that decision, it's just we've actually had to extend our closing date and financing because of that. I understand, but I'm making the request. You do what you do and what you think is right, but I would like the request to be of record. Thank you for that.
Sure, absolutely. And I'll make a note of that. I am not in the office the next few days, and so it might be a little tight, but I'll do everything I can to get this out to you guys as quickly as I can.
Appreciate that.
Okay. Well, if you have any other questions in the meantime, or Ms. Paulette, if you have questions, I know you said coming into this you weren't aware of all the different aspects of this request. If you have anything else you want to talk about, please feel free to reach out to me directly. If anyone would like a status update on the decision, Mr. Zimmerman, if you just want to check in and see where I'm at next week, that's perfectly fine. I'll give you a status update.
Okay.
And otherwise, I hope you all have a great day. Good luck with the project.
Thank you.
And we are adjourned.